Welcome to Unspoken Podcast. I am Anna Paz, and today I'll be sharing a special interview I did whilst in Angola with João Reis, who developed, if I'm not mistaken, the first Capoeira Angola school in Angola, the group Wavala, which is a Kimbundu word for reborn. In this conversation, he speaks a bit about his journey, his references, and hope for the future. I really appreciate the focus on preserving African and specifically Angolan dances, fights, rituals, the independent research that he does to speak to elders from different regions of Angola, so to better understand the many layers of identity present in the practice. And this helps us to understand ourselves better, the legacy and memory we hold. Have a listen.
Yes, my name is João Reis. I was born in 77, June 5th. And I was born in Rwanda. Lived most of my life from 5 years old in Europe. Then because of the war, my parents decided for me to move to live with my grandfathers in Portugal, grandmother and grandfather. Then I live in Europe, in Lisbon, from 5 to 13. Then I moved to Belgium. I did my high school. I finished my baccalaureate in 96. Then I went to the UK, Sussex University, and then Brighton University. Did my bachelor's and master's degrees in mechanical engineering. And then that's where I started doing capoeira. So in 96, there was a girl called Anne. I used to give I was head of the Black Student Union at my university, head of Lusophone Society. I was doing a lot of stuff, giving Kizomba classes in 96. It was really interesting. A lot of people from Senegal like Kizomba class, they knew Kizomba and Kuduro. So I was giving, meeting girls and all this stuff. And then at that time, there was a girl who used to come along and say, "Oh, you from Angola?" I said, yeah. "You should do Capoeira Angola." I said, "This is bullshit, Capoeira Angola." No, serious, Capoeira Angola, from Angola. I said, no, that doesn't exist. I'm from Angola, I never seen this Capoeira. So after like 3 months, she's keeping coming to my classes and always stressing the same. Yo, Capoeira Angola, you should come. Like, okay, one day I'm gonna see it. And after 3 months, I was in Brighton. There was someone giving classes, Capoeira Angola classes. There was a group already there. An English guy called Tim used to give classes. And it was linked to Filhos de Angola, Mestre Laércio. And then I went to that class, and then I did the class. It was in a pub, and they went to the pub and they gave the classes. And there was the music for Mestre Traíra on that class. So I did the class, was very tired. Mestre Traíra music went to my ears, and then for a week I was not sleeping very well because Mestre Traíra music reminded me a lot of things around Angola. So the music was kind of a flashback to a lot of things I used to see on the before the newsletter. There was a traditional newsletter on TV around traditional languages and speaking traditional languages and tribes and stuff, and the sounds was very similar. Okay, there was something I reflect that reminded me of Angola while doing Capoeira Angola on that CD from Mestre Traíra. And then since then I said, no, it doesn't matter. This thing is from my country. I cannot. And then suddenly I started realizing that the more and more I was inside Capoeira, it linked more towards me being an Angolan and living abroad for so many years. And then I started doing Capoeira. I was part of the group for 3-4 years. Then after finishing university, I went to Holland. Then I went to these events in Germany, and Filhos de Angola had a big event with Laércio, Grupo Jangada, Rosalvo. They invited Mestre Moraes, Mestre Cobrinha, Mestre João Grande, João Pequeno was still alive, was there. Mestre Braga was there. It was a big event, biggest event of Capoeira Angola in the last 10-15 years, because we brought all the big masters together. Really good. And then in the last day of the events in Berlin, Totti came, and then he was living in Enschede. I was living in Holland. By chance, we meet together, and then we decided to start a group in Holland that still exists. And then I continued to do a capoeira group, and then we started doing everything together in Holland for 4 or 5 years. Maybe 8 years, and then I had a job opportunity to go to Angola to work. I I set up manufacturing lines for TVs for Philips, lamps and stuff like that. Then GE offered me a job to come to Angola to work for a new setup of a new factory. And I said yes. I never lived with my parents. I always wanted to go back to see how is Angola, to see my people, my country, and to see really if I fit, because I had a lot of experiences traveling to China, Holland, Belgium, France, India, Korea, and I was a bit tired of doing all that stuff at the same time for 9 years almost. And then I said, okay, we'll go to Angola, stay with my father, my family, and see what happens next, And then I came, and then again, there was no Capoeira Angola group. Strange, you come to Angola and you don't find Capoeira Angola. There was a lot of groups from regional. By chance, when I came in, Cobra Mansa was doing the documentary around Angolo. And then at that time, he used to sleep in my house. A few times he slept when he came. And then we did an event. All the people from regional came and Contemporânea came. And then he left. And then after a few months, I was not doing any capoeira anymore because if I don't do Angola, I don't do regional. So for me, it doesn't make any sense. And then by chance, one student from Cordão de Ouro asked me to go to Cacoaco to give classes. He wants to learn Angola, but he's regional. I said, okay, no problem. So I started giving classes to him. I used to go to Cacoaco every weekend to give classes. One class, they do this contemporary stuff and, regional stuff. And then I said, my class is only Angola. You're not going to mix anything. Just do Angola. That's what I know. Do no more than less. It's just this thing. Then I started giving classes to him, and then suddenly some people from Cordão de Ouro started knowing that I was giving classes. And then one or two students that said, no, I don't want to do regional anymore, no contemporary, I want to do only Angola. Mestre, can you start a group? They call me Mestre because in Angola, Mestre is someone who teach, who's thoughtful, who's the teacher, the professor. And then in Angola, it's normal to call Mestre because he's the one who teach. So they came and then we started to do a group called Wavala. Wavala means in Kimbundo means to reborn. Okay, there's always this idea around having a seed that for many years been kind of dry, and then you put a bit of water and they start flourish again. So the idea was always coming back and restart from what we have and not start something new. Because I feel a lot of Capoeira Angola comes from here, so a lot is already inside our DNA, not knowing. And then the group started, then the older guys started doing capoeira. Then I had younger students, and I found a place in Vienna to give classes. Every weekend I go to Vienna to give classes. And then one of these young students was Dario. So Dario also came in, it was really interesting. He was very young at that time. What's your age at that time when you started? 11 years old, yeah? Yeah, 11, 12. So they came for fun, like, capoeira, this guy is giving, jumping, They used to come, not come. And then at a certain moment in time, I started feeling that, the group was growing, but I need to get references. And my references were always Totti, and what was Mestre João Grande. So I talked to Totti, who's in Africa? There's any student from Mestre João Grande in Africa? There's a guy called, an African guy. It's called Salim. Salim? Yeah, Salim. In reality, Salim is not African, he's American, Afro-American. But he's a master of Capoeira Angola.
He's in Kenya, right?
In Kenya. He lives from giving yoga classes. So he's a teacher of yoga, he's a master of yoga really. That's where he got his earnings. And at the same time, he's Capoeira Angola teacher, contramestre, and now he's a mestre. So I used to call him like, why didn't you come to Angola? I said, okay, I can come. Buy me the ticket. I said, okay, no problem. I'll buy you the ticket. So you have the ticket? Okay, come. So he used to come once a year. He comes to Angola. I'm good doing movements, preparing the roda. Salim is more theoretical because he got 15, 20 years with Mestre João Grande. So he taught them a lot of stuff around music, around singing, different things that I could not teach at the same time because I didn't got the same experience, exposure. I did capoeira not with a master for 10, 20 years. I did capoeira with this master for a weekend, another master for a month, another master. That's why I started learning and being involved, more and more. So used to come a lot, so every 1 year used to come. We did a lot of events with Salim here. And then every time someone from Brazil passes to Angola, especially if they're Capoeira Angola group teacher or master, they'll come to talk to us. It's like, can you arrange an event? And then we arrange events. We have a community behind it. And I think a lot of regional groups recognize us as one of the pillars, at least for Capoeira Angola. Now next weekend we have an event where I have to teach, because I'm the older Capoeira Angola teacher here. And people see me as a reference for Capoeira Angola.
What do you feel is like the significance of having Capoeira Angola in Angola? And of course, like you just mentioned, there isn't many groups, there's only 2 right now. But do you think it's a bit contradictory that there is Capoeira Angola in the world and it's quite, present at the moment, let's say, but even though it has that namesake, it's in the actual place where it's called Angola, there's only 2 groups. So why do you think that is?
No, you have to see 2 things here. Apart from Brazil, and maybe a few places in Europe, but I don't think so. In Capoeira Regional and Capoeira Contemporânea, Luanda, in a certain moment in time, used to have 40 groups, 40, in one city. So Capoeira Regional and Capoeira Contemporânea is really strong. Maybe the groups don't have all masters and they're linked to Brazil and stuff, but in a place you got 40 groups, independent if someone was just good for holidays and started a group, a lot. So there was a big Capoeira community here, not Capoeira Angola.
Why?
And I think Capoeira Angola is more difficult. You need to be more involved, takes more time, takes a lot of patience. And I think that they didn't got many references on Capoeira Angola. Abada were always the firsts, and they started the group, and from Abada everything started together, So basically it's contemporâneo, it's regional, and then all the groups started after. There was one guy, that Mauro Gomes, his name is Macarrão. He started the first Capoeira Angola group here even before me. Okay, Mauro Gomes started. He's a professor. He's an expert in martial arts. Now he does Wing Chun, and he's kind of a bouncer. He trains the bouncers for the discotheques and the clubs. He's very good at.
Doesn't do Capoeira Angola anymore.
He still does Capoeira Angola, but not as a group, because when you start doing Capoeira Angola as a group, you need to be very involved, and it needs to be almost the only thing you do in terms of sports, because it takes so much from you. He's not just giving the classes, he's watching for the kids, preparing the instruments, going to the forest and finding the right woods, he's talking with right people, he's knowing the history. There's a lot of things go behind Capoeira Angola that you always have to find resources to be that broad, that capable, to be that Capoeira Angola. And this is not easy for everyone. And I think he was very linked to Mestre Cobra Massa. He started the group, so when I came in, he also gave me, João, you have my students? Okay, I stay with some of these students for 1 year, 2 years, they also helped me a bit. But then most of them start growing up, start having a job, the families, they left. But Mauro was the first one to start at the Capoeira Angola group here, and then I continue his work more or less.
And what do you feel is important about Capoeira, especially for the young kids here, growing up, or just in general for the population here, the society here? What do you think Capoeira brings?
I think a lot of them is a way to take them from where they live. It's very difficult to live in Vienna. We have no places to play football. We have no places, parks for kids to go around. If they're too crowded. There's not many places apart. You stay in the streets, and most of the young kids at 12, 15 start drinking beer. There's not many ways to get out of that scheme, that circle. And the Capoeira takes a bit of that. Parents in general, especially men, they like if the kids are males, they don't mind them doing Capoeira because it takes off the streets and they have a more sane type of life. And also sport-wise is very good. Be strong, they feel better. But again, Capoeira, especially the Angola, takes you more to the deeps, to the roots, where you come from, what that means, what it is. All the ceremonial, people a lot of times ask, why I do this in Capoeira Angola, not doing this regional, why Capoeira Angola is so strict in terms of rules, And these are traditions that you need to respect. And I think Capoeira Angola is that for some people, they feel is a limitation. For me, I think it is a question of following up on the legacy and continuing. So I think it depends on the person's perception. I think if you're young, you want to do sport, you want to be strong, you want to show your body, you have to have this girl, there's guys, you show you the strongest. But then it does not have really an essence behind it. Why you're doing that? What is the culture? Where it comes from? What are the rules? What the message Capoeira has? That stuff. You need to go a bit more in deep. And Angola tries to go to that deep level of understanding.
And I'm wondering if you know of any traditions or rituals or dances that are very clearly Angolan, that you see very closely linked to Capoeira Angola, and you see that connection there?
There's Angolo, with the documentary Jogo do Corpo that Mestre João Grande did. I was there twice, and I danced with the masters. Even when Mestre João Grande was here, I took the masters from Angolo to Luanda to meet João Grande, and with a big roda where Mestre João Grande played with Angolo players. And it was quite interesting because a lot of the environment is the same. The roda is the same. The way they laugh is the same. The movements is a bit different, in terms of how they jump, how they scream. But all the ceremonial is the same. What is very interesting is the similarities. You call it in Capoeira Angola or regional, you got chula, you got this louvação, and then you got louvação, and then you got corridos. You got a story, and then you say louvação. You talk. You ask blessing from God and stuff like that for your master, and then you start the corridos. All the story, then you give these blessings, and then you start the corrido.
So that's present also in Angola as well?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
It's very interesting.
Wow.
They say a story. They talk a story. Talk around the ancestors that die in the Angolo. The person that you do the Angolo, you talk around your grandfather used to do Angolo in that place, and he beat that guy, or he had more cows than the other guy. And then he gives a louvação, he talks to God, and then he starts playing the game. They give the clap. And they tend to imitate cows. So in the south, it's very common that cows are the breeder of the family. It's really interesting. They worship the cows because in the south, for you to survive in the desert, the cows give the poo for the land to harvest, and the cows give the milk for your kids to grow. So the cows are no more a means to eat the meat. The cow is a means for you to survive. So the cows, they worship the cows as someone in their family, helping them to live. So it's very interesting where everything they do, they're all and they're always doing this sound.
And they have a call and response as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Normally just men do this Angola fight, dance, let's say. And the women, they clap, and some of them even play drums. And they, to get themselves high, they drink a special liquid that they take from the trees. And it's really interesting, really interesting. You go there, and you go to this roda, and you give a different buzz. You're like, I'm inside the Capoeira Angola roda, but in another environment. And the older guys, they're not my age. I'm 40 or 50. These guys are 70, 80. And they are there trying to kick me and try to bounce me and try to do all this stuff. And I'm like, whoa, what's happening here? And it's really interesting that they have this capability of still aiming to keep this tradition. I go there and they give me shelter, they give me this roda, and they want me to play inside, and they want to keep this to their kids, for their kids to continue on and on. So this is a very old tradition that was taken to Brazil. There was a guy, a very famous painter from Angola, Reis Souza. During independence, he was a very famous painter of traditional Angolan arts, white person from Porto, from the north of Portugal. and he start, painting Angolan tradition because his parents work on the railway, and as they were making the railway, they had to stop in each village to continue to do the railway. So they used to go to these very deserted places where very few villages are there. And the guy used to paint. He was a really good painter. So Neves de Souza, after independence, he went to live in Brazil. Because independence and stuff like that, he said, okay, I'm going to go to Brazil because Angola started having a war. So he went to Bahia. And then he met Pelourinho, Salvador, and he met Capoeira Angola and the Mestre Pastinha. And they said, yeah, this Capoeira Angola. I said, oh, okay, but this is not from here. I'm like, oh, no, what you're doing, you're dancing in Angola. That's tradition for my country. It's from Angola. You're doing something that is not from here. It's from my country. And Mestre Pastinha, then he learned, and he kept in his academy that Capoeira Angola was Angolo, and was the dances of the zebras. Okay, the call Angolo is called the dance of the zebras. So they kept this story, and then Mestre Moraes picked it up, and then GCAP picked it up as they go along, and everyone else knows the Angolo is kind of the traditional form of capoeira, and that's why Mestre Cobrinha came to that study around the Angolo, and what that mean. There's one guy, but there's one of the guys from that came from the Angolo tribe that came to see Mestre João Grande. And he also tell me that, Angolo, so you guys from Capoeira think Angolo comes from the zebras, but that's not true. Angolo comes from the frogs. Okay, so very interesting. So there's this area, they have all these areas where they live, they sleep, but there's always an area for the cows, because as I told you, the cows are very important. So there's an area where the cows stay in the mud, because the mud is a bit more cooler. So if it's very hot, they stay in the mud and they are more fresh, So this area where the cows are normally happens that the frogs like to go there. When the rainy season starts, the frogs has an ability to sleep for a year without eating anything. They do this kind of hibernation where they sleep in very dry area, and they sleep for 1 year. When the rain comes, suddenly they appear. And when they appear, what does happen is that they start fighting with each other because of the females. So there's always one frog, that is the main guy, that has to fight for the females and that's fight with other frog.
Yeah.
So os pastores, the farmers, or I would say in English?
The
pastors,
yeah.
They used to go there in the morning, look to the cows, and like, oh, there's a lot of noise here. And they look around and like the frogs would be fighting each other. And then used to look around and like, oh, it's fighting with this one, fighting with that one, fighting this, and grabs one, he grabs the eye, the other one he gives a kick, the other one he does this and that. And what they did, they start imitating the frogs. So the dance of the frogs, after his final day of taking the cows, they used to play different farmers with each other and used to do this game where they fight with each other. So that's from what he told me, that the source of the game is from frogs.
But I think it doesn't even have to contradict itself in a way, because in a sense, any aspect of nature or what was the reality around
the context
of someone's living, all of that would be something that would be embodied and perhaps then expressed in some way, right?
Correct.
So maybe everyone is right in some way.
Yes. And I did a lot of research around this because I was this, and Brazilians always try to find, okay, I know the truth, you don't know the truth, and there was this discussion. And then I even saw a lot of books around that area where the Angolo is, okay, called Umbe, okay? The Mokop is the village, but the area is the Umbe. And was a typical area with a lot of zebras over there. Nowadays there's no zebras because of the war. So most of the animals run away, and because of the population and they took a lot of the land, very few animals are there. But it was a famous area in the colonial times to have zebras, for example.
Interesting. Well, thank you so much for everything that you've shared. I wanted to just ask one last question. What would be your hope then, I guess, for Capoeira Angola, in particular here in Angola, but also, I guess, outside too?
No, I think I would like more people to come here to experience, to go to the south, to go to Mukop, and to see this other capoeira, very traditional. This all other dance, where they dance. Normally, when people come from Brazil or whatever, I tell them, okay, I have a few friends. I call this person is coming. You bring a tent. You go there. You sleep with them. Stay there for a week, and you experience how they live. You know, I think it's very important to do that, and also go to that roda with that open feeling and experience what that brings to you. You know, it's quite interesting in terms of the legacy, in terms of what they try to still maintain. You know, there's still, I think, a lot of things around capoeira that we don't know. You know, a few places. For example, one of my students, one day he was doing a roda, and then he was doing a chamada, and then the old man came, and like, why are you doing that? Okay, chamada. This is from Capoeira Angola. No, this means something else. This is something else in my tribal group in Luanda, Tashito, not too far away. You know, so there's a lot of signs. As you start digging more, you know, anything is a connection. You know, there's a lot of windows and doors open. You know, like what does this chamada mean? Does it come from Angola, Nigeria? Is it Yoruba? Is Bantu? Is from Congo? You know, and there's certain tribes that have those clues, have those answers. But in Angola is around us trying to find those answers. You know, and then I live here, and every week I can go to Cachito, I go to the tribe to find that old man, to try to find those answers. And it grows me as a person. I have a better understanding, not just the capoeira, but around where it comes from. I'm from Angola. So that's one example. Angola is another example. In Ilha you had basula. It's a dance where you go and you put the kick and the person falls to the floor. Basula is like giving a kick. In Malange, there was another dance that they used to use the heads to kick each other. So there are a few places where these dances are, but they never really been deep researched because, you know, being in war and everything, and at the same time, there's not many people keen to do that effort. You know, research, going to these places. You need to have a car, you need to have conditions, you need to have free time, you know, all these things. It's not always that easy. But I think as I'm here, I gather a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of that, a bit of that. And, you know, I do my research. So it's very important for me these guys one day, to talk about capoeira, not just about Capoeira Angola from Brazil, but where it comes from. You know, and look to the Ngolo like something they own. You know, look to, you know, basula, they own. Look to, they own, you know, and they understand what it means, because I think a lot of people from Brazil still wants to understand what all of these things mean. And I think the only answers you can have is by coming here. You know, don't wait for the books to tell you the story. You know, in Africa, the story is told by people, and you got this oral tradition. Capoeira exists because we transmit orally our history, our culture. We don't write books. Yeah. So I think it's important to keep that, because it keeps a certain essence where if you want to know something, you need to talk to the right person. And for that, you need to wait. You cannot just wait, you know, put something on Google and give you an answer. No. Here you have to wait for the right person to give you the right answer, and keep on searching, keep on trying to find that source. It's really important. Really important.
Thank you so much, João. It's been an absolute pleasure
and
an honor to be here with you. And I hope it will be the first of many conversations. I feel like you're a good source of knowledge, and I'm definitely going to come back to Angola. So
okay.
It'll be nice.
With pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Ok, obrigado.
Obrigada.
Agora, vamos comer? Lavar as mãos.